Hey free to play gang, welcome back to another video. So I wanted to do the epic tier list first, but I do realize that I need a little bit more experience with Laura. So I'm gonna go ahead and test her a little bit more, encounter her in PvP and all that before I can come to a conclusion on where I want to put her. So before that happens, I'm not going to touch the epic Esper tier list. So instead, we are going to discuss a little bit more about the legendary Espers. Now, you'll find that this video is going to be helpful for you. Do consider subscribing, as subscribing is free and you can always change your mind. Now, without further ado, let's start immediately, okay? So, Biondina, I think she is really great for PvP and especially more useful now that Holobattle is here. So, still an amazing powerhouse in destroying Donars and Rensies, and is now even more relevant when used with the rare Esper Xuan. However, she still lacks use in all other non-PvP content. So because of that, I'm gonna have to put her at B tier. She is still really good, but just not very versatile. Next, we have Cecilia over here. Okay, so she is decent for early game players in PvE content, but is only useful for point war in the endgame tanky meta. So she is not as useful in Holobattle because she can only revive 2 other Espers, right? So that makes a lot of sense. And you also won't be using her for any other content aside from point war. So because of that, I'm gonna have to chuck her in D tier. I don't think she is that good. Now next we have Clara. Okay, so this is easily the best healer in the game, and she is invincible in the point war. So she can only be countered by hard disables like stuns, petrify, and freeze. And she also has the perfect leader buff and skill 1 healing kit for defensive bruisers like Donar, like Rensi, and Joser. So she also finds use in every single content in the game and at every single stage of the game as well, be it early, mid or late game, and is even capable of soloing a pep, so I think she's definitely S tier. Now next we have Donar. Okay, so he's a very powerful Esper. He's also one of my most favorite Espers in the game, and he's great for farming and PvP, but he lacks a lot of use elsewhere, so he's not very good in Ritual Miracles, Cube Miracles, Temporal Tower. You won't see him used over there. He is also not as relevant in Holobattle as opposed to Point War, because he is easily countered by a lot of the rare Espers right now like Xuan and Yuyao. So because of that, I'm going to chuck him at A tier. He is still really good, but just not that versatile. Next we have Gabrielle. Okay, so she's useful in every single content ranging from Ritual Miracles to the Temporal Tower and PvP as well. So her kit allows her to be built in many different ways. So for example, you can build her with Windwalker if you want her to be super fast. And you can also build with Ocean Waves like me if you want her to throw her second and third skills a little bit more frequently. And she can even be built with the Zeus Relic set because she can stun a lot on her AoE attacks, especially her second skill which hits 3 times. So easily S tier. Now next one we have Hyde. Okay, so overwhelmingly powerful in the end game. And he is a hard counter against Donar comps in PvP as well. So he is very tough and does a lot of damage if he is allowed to stack passive. So not only does he strip buffs on his first skill, he also cuts the enemy's max HP, which makes him a great table turner in all PvP content, especially against the tanky meta. So because of that, I think he deserves an S tier. There is no denying that he is definitely much better than Donar. Alright, moving on, now we are taking a look at Yuyao. So she is a hard counter against a lot of the speed comps in the game, with the ability to cut in between the enemy turn order, okay, so to steal turns because of her passive, and disable the prime targets. So she single-handedly denies debuffs on your team, and takes more turns to land more stuns on her first skill with a 75% proc chance. So she's very useful in the Temporal Tower, Cube Miracle, and especially PvP. So because of that, I'm going to chuck her in A tier. I think she has a lot of viability. Now next one we have Lewis. Okay, so he's possibly the best single target damage dealer with a lot of use in the Cube Miracle to one-shot enemies. So he is also very easy to build due to his self-crit buff and leader buff, so he is a highly recommended choice for all players to build for Chronos and a pet. However, he is set back by his inability to do anything else apart from single target damage, and honestly single target damage is not going to help you in your speed clearing, it's not going to help you in your runtimes and all that, and he is not that useful in point war as well because you want to have a lot of AoE attacks, right? Like for example Lin Xiao, for example Chloe, these are what you want to speed cleave. So because of that, I have to put him at B tier. He is still very good, but I feel like he can be improved. Now next we have Ling. Okay, so while he is not as relevant for Holobattle, he is still incredibly useful for the Temporal Tower, for the Cube Miracle, Chronos and Fafnir. He's also a really good fodder farmer, right? Now the thing is, he is decent in point war, but is easily stomped by any tanky setup. So I'm gonna have to put him in A tier. Now next one we have Lucas. Okay, so he is a cheat code for a lot of the Temporal Tower flaws due to his flexibility in his kit. So not only is he capable of landing stuns and stripping buffs, he can also permanently lock down bosses with his first skill. So he also finds use in Chronos and possibly Fafnir as well due to his multi-hits. And he is also very relevant in the point war and Holobattle, so because of that, I'm going to have to put in S tier. I think he is at a very good place in this game. Now next one we have Narmer. Okay, so he deals very good AoE damage but requires a tremendous amount of setup to be effective, which also makes him very easy to disrupt. However, he's very good for wave clearing and doing good damage for the point war, So because of that, I think I can just chuck in an A tier. Now, next one, okay, so this is Ollie, okay, so he is no cap very solid for Holobattle, which is primarily endgame focused. So he works extremely well when used with weaker glass cannon Espers, right? So for example, like Chloe, for example, like Sander, as most of the strippers would have already used their strips before your ally could potentially meet fatality, right? So like for example, turn 1, the enemy use their strips, and maybe they use their DPS Esper to kill your glass cannon, and because of that, your glass cannon actually survives with like 1 HP, with invincibility and regeneration as well. So he's very useful in that sense. And he is also a very good gateway for newbies to perform, you know, safe YOLO speedruns on Chronos. So because of that, honestly, I feel like he deserves an A tier. Now next up we have Raven. Okay, so she is the best stripper in the game, hands down. So potentially very useful for Fafnir as well, for her ability to remove buffs and replace them with Seer and Defense Break. So she is great for point war and decent in Holobattle and some temporal tower flaws, but generally I do feel like, you know, she deserves an A tier, so that's where she belongs. Now moving on to Sally, okay, so she is also a cheat code for all content with her powerful third skill and the ability to buff your allies with attack and cleanse on her second skill. So she can also be built in various ways, from ocean waves to snow dowager and even astral witchcraft. So due to her flexibility, I think she has a lot of use. So because of that, I have to put her S tier. I still think that she's really good, especially in PvP, man. She is crazy. Now next one we have Sienna. Okay, so very useful Esper gated by her long cooldowns. So she is very good in PvP and is an amazing tool to AP lock Phobeter of the tower. However, honestly, she is outclassed by some of the other attack buffers in the game in terms of support. So if you're going to consider her as a support Esper, then honestly she falls off a little bit for me, like when you have stuff like Dahlia, when you have stuff like Suhua. So I do feel like she's useful, but probably not very easy to use. So because of that, B tier for me. Now next one, Tang Xuan. Okay, so he has a fun kit, but it's extremely random. Now while he's capable of clearing various content due to his hybrid tanky DPS kit, do not expect to be doing content at a fast pace. So his typing makes him a rather poor choice for Chronos because Chronos is Inferno, and he is also not very good at Purgatory 12 farming because of his typing. So it is a shame that he is part of the beginner summoning banner. So because of that, I'm gonna have to put him at C tier. Now next, we have Tevor. Okay, so he is a Shimmer legendary. However, he's easily countered by a lot of cleansing Espers and finds it very difficult to be consistently useful in a lot of content. Now because of that, I'm gonna have to chuck him at D. And moving on, we have TS. She is a very powerful Esper in PvP when you can outspeed the enemy. If you cannot outspeed the enemy and they have their Gabrielle go first, then she's basically useless. So her 25% speed leader buff makes a lot of sense with her kit, so she's actually very well-rounded in that sense. However, she is probably not as relevant as Longmian in PvE due to her long cooldowns and low proc rate on her second skill. So because of that, I think I have to put her A tier. That's where she belongs. Now moving on to Tricky, I'm going to immediately put an S tier, but I'm going to explain why he can potentially be a B tier or even a C tier, right? Okay, probably not C tier, but probably a B tier. So he's potentially a B tier if he's built on anything else aside from the Zeus Relic set. Yes, his passive is still really good for countering the tanky meta and all that, but without the Zeus Relic set, you're actually not going to see his potential at all. So with the Zeus Relic set, he actually unlocks his obscene potential with his regular stuns, debuff returning on his first skill, and buff stripping on his third skill, and he has a lot of use in every single endgame content. And with Zeus Relic set, he actually stuns like crazy, so he is really powerful in, you know, just keeping the enemies controlled. Now, Unas, this is undeniably the strongest AP booster in the game, and he was further improved with a 35% Holobattle speed lead. That's insane, man. So he has everything necessary to clear content right now. He has defense break on his multi-hitting skill 1, he has team-wide immunity, and AP boosting. So he is remarkable for every single content in the game, and especially in Fafnir as well. So because of that, I have to chuck him at S tier. He is very good. So that's the end of the tier list. Hopefully you found this informative. But if you do have any comments, you know, any disagreements and all that, feel free to leave it down in the comment section below. But also do take note that all of this was just my own opinion, so I may not even be right? But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Daddy Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.